Hey everybody, my name is Gerry Simpson. I'm a visual artist, fashion designer, photographer, and writer. And today we're going to go over some of the things that made it possible for me to be successful in this area of my life. Here are 10 ways that make it happen. Number one, you have to believe in yourself. There was a time when I was a kid growing up in Passaic, New Jersey, I looked into the back of a magazine and there was this application for a contest. And the contest was to draw a blinky, some little animal or something. Well, without my parents' permission, I decided that I was gonna draw a blinky. I drew Blinky, mailed it in, and I just left it at that. But then one evening while we were at home all watching television, this guy comes knocking on the door. Well, when he knocked on the door, he had this huge box with him. In that box, at the time I didn't know it was an art set, but he told my father and my mother that I had won this particular contest, and my father was not having it because he comes from the world of being a mechanic. So he gave me the box, I take the box inside, my father just didn't want to talk about it no more. So I ended up continuing to believe in myself because I kept on going, I kept on drawing. Even though I didn't win the contest or was able to take advantage of the contest, I kept on drawing and I kept on being as creative as I possibly could be. Number two, you need to find a mentor. When I was in elementary school, there was a lady named Miss Meek. Miss Meek would come to the school. I don't know if it was every week or every month, but she would come and give the students an art experience. And I couldn't wait for Miss Meek to come. And she gave us this assignment one time, and she said that she wanted us to draw this make-believe animal. And she called it a Braviac. And so I got excited about the Braviac, and I drew this Braviac that was a huge animal falling out of the sky, and it was about to fall into the ocean, and as it was getting close to the ocean, you could see all the fish jumping up and down out of the water and stuff. Well, Miss Meek took my Braviac and put it on display in the public library in my city. And that was my first art show that I ever had. And it was because of Miss Meek believing in me and telling me that I could, it made it possible for me to continue going on. So it is important that you find someone that believes in you and that will be willing to mentor you. Number three, take risk. Listen, without risk, there's no gain. You have to be willing to do some different stuff in order to get to your goal. Like I said, I've been a singer. So there was a time that I was a singer, but in that time that I was being a singer, I also took upon myself to make the clothes for everybody. So I became this fashion designer. I didn't know what would happen, but at the time, I had a friend who lived in California. So my singing career had come to an end, and I was just trying to figure out who I was and where I was going. So I had this friend in California who said to me, well, maybe you should move to California. And my attitude was, listen, I can't afford to live in New Jersey and save money to move to California. Well, his attitude was, well, you know what? You probably won't ever get there because nobody's gonna pay your way. I said, well, you know, that's gonna be the only way I'm gonna get there if somebody decides to pay my way. Well, not long after that, I found a flyer that said there was gonna be a contest for models and designers. And the first prize was a trip to Hollywood. So I'm thinking to myself, that might just be the way I get to California. Well, I go on and I get involved with the contest. I become a fashion designer in the contest. I became a model in the contest. So what I did was I became a model who wore his own clothes. A couple days after I won first prize for the contest in the male division, which was that trip to Hollywood, I got a call from my friend telling me that there was a lady in Redwood City, California who wanted to have a fashion show, but her designer had just quit. And he said, well, listen, I got a friend in New Jersey, he'll make your clothes if you pay his way to come. So fast forward a little bit, that's how I got to California. My friend took a risk, asked somebody a question, I took a risk, got on the airplane, and here I am in California. And number four, you must always think outside the box. You know, while I was living in the Bay Area, I became a stylist for Nordstrom, the department store. And in that time, they used to have such fabulous stuff that I used to work with. Nordstrom was like going to college. Because every time I turned around, they were sending me to school for some kind of class. I went to Christmas tree school one time to learn how to light a Christmas tree. So I went and I learned a whole lot of stuff. And working with Nordstrom allowed me to work and think outside the box. When I first started painting, I used to go and buy my canvases, and I used to buy smaller canvases because the canvases cost so much. But when I started working at Nordstrom, we used to use these boards in the window called window boards, and we would cover them in fabric. And I noticed that after they would get to a certain amount of use, they would break them up and throw them away. Well, I stopped using them. So my first paintings that you'll see of mine are probably about 6 feet tall, 40 inches wide, because that is what I had to paint on. That's all I had to paint on. And then there was another thing that happened. Nordstrom used to cover their walls in canvas for spa use. And one day they decided that they weren't going to use the canvas no more. So all of the canvas in Northern California ended up in my house. So that's how I did a lot of the different things. So what I'm saying, when it comes to thinking out of the box, everything that you work with won't necessarily come from a store. You have to look around and see what's around you that you can use. So it's important that you always are thinking and always thinking on your toes. Number 5, be bold, damn it, be bold. Listen, I love color. I love working with color. And I have to tell you about the first time I did a show in Sacramento at the Crocker. It was one of those art auctions. And I was there, I was nervous at this place, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I supposed to act at this show? And only thing I knew at the time was, at an art show, you drank wine and ate cheese. So I'm walking around outside in this garden, and I'm standing there, and this guy walks up to me and he says to me, "Sir, are you an artist?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, show me your work." And I took him over to my work, and my work at the time was the boldest, brightest piece of art in the room. And I said, "Well, this is my piece." And he looked at me and said, "Well, let me show you mine." And he turns around and we walk over to this pastel piece picture of a bridge, the gold bridge downtown. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not who I am, this is not my style. I like color, and I like color in its purest sense. I love primary colors. Colors are important to me. I think color is a very healing factor when it comes to us as humans. So I will say it again, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Be bold, goddammit, be bold. Number 6, get comfortable with hearing no. When I first came to town, like I said back before, that I didn't know much about art and what I needed to do and what the process was. So when I looked for art galleries to submit my work to, I went to the newspaper because it was a job I wanted. I wanted to be an artist, so I went to the want ads. Well, when I went to the want ads, I found some places. And I showed up. I showed up to one place that was a black gallery, and then I showed up to a place that was a white gallery, considered mainstream. So when I went to the black gallery, everybody was so excited about what was going on. And then I left there and I went to the white gallery, to the other gallery. And when I got there, I walked in and there was this Hispanic music, Mexican music was playing. So I was like, wow, this is they're pretty diversified up in here. I'm gonna hear some Mexican music. That must mean they're ready for me. Well, I walked in. The person that I was supposed to have this meeting with was a black woman who happened to not be there that day. And there was a white lady there, and she said to me, "Is that your portfolio you have there?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, can I see it?" I said, "Sure." And me, old naive me, I'm just sitting there just waiting for her to respond. And she looks down at the paper, and as she's looking down at my book, she never looks back up at me, but she says to me, "I'm not interested in your black issues, but I'll take your abstracts." And I'm thinking to myself, where did I land? Where's this place I'm at? But her telling me no, what was the ammunition for what made me the artist I am today? Because the day that she told me no was the day that I promised that I was going to be an artist. So listen, do not be afraid of hearing the word no. And number 7, you have to learn how to say no. Now don't get me wrong, you do have to build up your following, your crowd. You need to do that. But there comes a time when you're going to have to say no. There's these art cliques that fly around, and they all get into a little circle and they start doing certain things. And they come up with things like, you need to do this show for experience. Now, for instance, I've been in the art business now since 1999. And so for a person to walk up to me and tell me that you should do this show for exposure, that's a little bit crazy, because if I expose myself any further, you might just see where I sit. So I'm telling you all, do not be afraid to say no, because sometimes saying no might save you, because every party is not worth you showing up at. Number 8, broaden your circle. Now, when I say broaden your circle, you have to understand, for a lot of reasons, some people want to stay and tend to want to click and get with the people that look like them. But I'm saying, for example, when I first came to Sacramento, I didn't find black galleries. So if I was going to be an artist, I had to find ways to show my work. So that meant that I needed to show my work to everybody. Red, black, green, yellow, purple, LBGTQ, or whatever it was. I needed to make certain that my audience was going to become everybody, because I couldn't depend on no one person to be the one that's going to come and save me as an artist and save my career. It's important that you know that, okay, it's been important for me. My experience belongs to a lot of people. So you won't know that until you go outside your comfort zone and get to meet with other different people. Like I said, some of my first shows were in places that you would have never expected there to be an art show, like radio stations. I did a show on a radio station. People say, well, people can't see you at a radio station, but the people that work there can see. So that place where you show at might be the most obscure place in the world, but the key is you're showing. So don't be afraid to step outside of your box. Number 9, keep reinventing yourself. When I was in high school, I was a singer. Go back. When I was about 9 years old, I was into modeling. When I became a junior in high school, I became a professional singer. When the singing went away, I went back to modeling again. The modeling brought me to California. When I got to California, I couldn't do the modeling no more, so I came to Sacramento and I became an artist. Then a few years back, I went back to being a fashion designer. So what I'm saying is, sometimes you have to be available to the change simply because the place that you're in will not accommodate who you want to be at the time. So it's important that you always reinvent yourself. I can remember thinking about who I was going to be. My son said to me one time, so what do you want to do in 5 years? And I never had thought about what I want to do in 5 years. And in that time that he asked me about what I want to do, I opened up GOS Art Gallery Studio. But then you got to also understand, now we're in the middle of this pandemic, so it's causing me to find different things. It's causing me to find out different ways that I can express myself, show my stuff. At the height of the pandemic, right before it started, I was in a major show in Oakland. I had a big solo show. I had like 37 pieces of art in this show. The show opened up one weekend. The next weekend, the show was closed. And it stayed closed for the entire time. And then I was supposed to do a show that was supposed to be here in my studio. It was Bow Ties and Brooches. That was closed down. So what did I do? I turned to my Instagram page, I turned to my Facebook page, and so every day I try to post something that I've done creatively. Listen to me, you all. You have to understand, in order to develop and to get an audience, you have to be out there. If you're not showing some kind of way, somehow, people will not know you're there. So do not be afraid of reinventing yourself. Like I said, when I came to Sacramento, I had to become a whole together different person than who I was when I landed from New Jersey and San Jose. Reinvention is a good thing. Number 10, be resilient. Have you ever heard the commercial Weebles about Weebles? Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. It used to be a toy. It looked like an egg. So Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. You have to be Weeble-like in this business, because people will try to knock you down. They'll stop you from doing what you dream of doing, but you have to be persistent. When I first came to Sacramento, it's always when I first came to Sacramento. When I first got here, I had somebody tell me that my art would never sell. Hence, I don't know where that person is today. I don't know if that person is still creating art, but they told me I wouldn't make it. But in my head, I believed more in what I thought versus what somebody else thought. So you have to never, ever, ever stop believing in yourself. That happens when it comes to you creating new and different things. Somebody may not like it at first when you do it, but be resistant, be resilient, keep on going. Don't be afraid to try new things. And by that I mean, you're going to have to find a way to just stay consistent. What makes a successful artist? You got to have work. You have to have a history. Where have you been? What have you done? Where have you shown? How long have you shown? When people buy your art, they want to know all these different things. They want to know that you have a history. So, A career is not based on one art piece that you made while you were in high school. I myself still paint every day. I've been painting, like I said, from 1999, so every day of the week I paint something. Even if I just go stroke, I paint every day. So it's important that you become real resilient when it comes to this business. If you're interested in learning more about GOS art wear and GOS art, or you may be interested in purchasing a piece or two, contact me on my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my website. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm GOS, and it has been a pleasure to host the Experience Depot. The Experience Depot is a collaboration between Capital Studio West and Oz Collective Media. If you would like to see more episodes of the Experience Depot Artist Series, make sure that you hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons below. Peace, y'all.